breaks in the action. One of my favorite years, maybe the favorite year, was 1986. Joe and I had the two new Spitfires, and we finished in the appearance row, first row and second row. We were the only two planes in there, so that was kind of a treat, kind of a neat little thing. Anyway, whenever I look back at the appearance judging of those models, this is one of the premier years. One of the years there are a lot of really unusual, well buffed out, well finished, very unique airplanes. Check out the action. It's from the 1996 appearance judging, so you'll get some idea.
Cobra. Just, you look at this, I don't know how you could not be inspired. A lot of good memories. Hard to believe that we've had such a good life, really. And someday, this video that we're shooting today is going to be the memories of the past. Enjoy it while it happens, and enjoy reliving it many times over.
Let sandpaper be your friend. 15 minutes.
Oh, let me see the boo-boo. What happened? Oh, the Regis, you're not supposed to do it with your bare hands. What'd they tell you?
I can't allow people to panic me.
You got a couple of stitches or?
7 stitches.
Okay.
Okay, we have 15 lady judges.
Can we take the bandage off and look at it?
I looked at movies many times.
I was blessed. I missed arteries and
Of course you're blessed. I got a friend that's a priest. Don't worry about it. I had him say an extra prayer for you. You're in my care right now.
so I'm healing.
Well, I'm glad to see you back.
Oh, yeah.
Do we cheat and how?
Hey, I have to go do this demo, so if you excuse me for a minute. What demo, girl?
Just waiting out.
The engine, and I got a couple 4-strokes. They're going to do a 4-stroke demo.
I gotta go in and
Well, I forgot to tell you, if
Regis
your
in one
plate's not
place,
done
one
30
piece again.
seconds before we sound the final.
Everybody likes Junkyard Wars.
Put your
Amazing.
plane in the wood chipper.
All right, let's see what they have in mind here.
Cylinder and case really radiates the heat out. And I can't, from personal experience, give a lot of information on flying a Brodak 40. I assume it's relatively similar to the double stars, and I know the double stars don't like to run on super fuel. You get them off the ground, they'll go cold, you can't get a needle setting. So AAC type motors, 25% and less, all the way down to about 20% oil. You're usually not going to hurt one at 20%, it just may not give you a steady locked-in run if you're down to 20% oil. That's the basics of high points for fuel. Plugs, a lot of people think there is one stunt plug. There are several plugs that work reasonably well. You go to most hobby stores, you find Fox plugs hanging on the wall, occasionally Thunderbolts hanging on the wall, some other type plugs hanging on the wall. My experience has been, for the last several years, the most consistent plug in almost every engine I've ever seen is the SIG RC Long, product number GP003. It works in everything, pipe motors, double stars, Foxes. If you've got an engine that spits and sputters and can't get a setting, try a SIG plug and it'll nearly always fix it. And that's a cheap fix. There's some other plugs that work well in Foxes. A new good RC Long Fox works pretty well. The Thunderbolt RCs work pretty well. My gold standard for me the last 5 years has been the SIG plug. So the only plug I use, the only plug I sell.
Straight SIG plug.
Yeah, so they've got actually 3 plugs. They've got a tune pipe plug, a 4-cycle plug, and what they call the SIG RC Long, which is product GP003. It's the one with the idle bar. Oh, okay. The other 2 don't have idle bars, so that's how you make sure.
Use an idle bar and
Well, the idle bar is really there just to shield the plug from incoming mixture that will make it go cold. That's why it's used in RC, to keep a slug of fuel from the plug.
scale.
Yeah. There's no magic to the idle bar itself. In reality, the magic is in the elements that are in the coil and the plug. The idle bar certainly helps in some respects, but just because a plug has an idle bar doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work as a stunt plug. But the SIG plug that I'm talking about does have an idle bar. SIG 4-stroke plugs work well in a lot of stunt motors, and they don't have an idle bar, but they work well. They work very well with Foxes, particularly with a lot of oil because they're very hot. They keep everything lit. Prop selection, most airplanes we're talking about, 35s and 40s, you're going to be running the 10.6 prop, 10.5 on a small line airplane. On the LAs and FPs, in most cases, 11.5, 11.6. John's wide props work well. Top flight power points work pretty well. Certainly, you can spend a lot of money on volleys and so forth, but they're not necessary at this level. What you want to get is a steady run, use props that you can buy easily, so you don't have just one and you're stuck all year long. If you break it, you can't find another one. So try to tune a system around readily available props. Zingers work okay on small airplanes. They're not real great props for big motors because they're thick and they get heavy. I would stay away from almost any of the composite nylon props, the APCs, the Grobners, 10 inches and under are pretty good. You don't see many of them around. There's one on that airplane on the floor where I think it's a Grobner 12.6. It's a very efficient blade design, but they're also very heavy. And in some airplanes, you get a lot of shaking and wobbling just because of the way the prop as it goes through maneuvers with gyroscopic precession. I don't like APCs because they're both heavy and inefficient. They get a lot of press. They're in hobby shops everywhere and they're cheap. I don't think they're particularly good props at pulling the airplane, and they can tear you up if you get a handcuff on. Not that a wood prop can't, but those blades are so sharp and heavy that they can do a lot of damage. I recommend, and I now use almost always an electric starter. Roy's actually the guy that got me using the starter by watching him, because he had the good sense to not stick his hands in the prop when he got started flying in competition or flying a lot, because he needs both hands. He can't tie himself up with a hand injury. I use the little K-Van starter that's available from Hobby Lobby. It's self-contained. You charge it about once a year is all I ever need to do. No reason to get your hands in the prop. Tanks. The GRW tanks work good. Roy, don't want to talk about plastic tanks in a minute, which also work well when set up properly. On profile airplanes with a Fox or an FP or an LA, you're nearly always going to have the center line of the tank about 1/4 to 5. Say, here's the round cylinder head sticking out. Here's the tank. The center line of the tank is nearly always going to have to be 1/4 to 5/16 above the center line of the motor. A lot of people have tried to explain why that is. I don't have any earthly idea. I just know that it works. Because 1/4 to 5/16, the best thing is to make it adjustable. What you're after is equal lap times upright and inverted. Fox, the plans for years have always said line the tank up with the center of the motor. You do an outside loop with the Fox and shuts off because you get the rich slug of fuel. You start raising the tank, it cleans a lot of that out. And of course, gives you the same inside and outside maneuver speeds and the lap times upright and inverted. It works. Yeah, it works. I don't know why it works. See, people can theorize from now on. It may have something to do with the volume of the tank related to the internal volume of the motor, but since everything's been into the air, that doesn't make sense, but it works. It does the job. I run Uniflow all the time, except on a 4-stroke SATA that I've been playing with. I don't like muffler pressure. What I find for muffler pressure on most commercial tanks, the feed vent is in the back of the tank. The Uniflow vent is about 3/8 of an inch in front of it. With the quieter the muffler, and the larger the pressure fitting, the more pressure goes in the tank. The more pressure goes in the tank to supposedly prevent lean runs, the more you blow a high energy stream of bubbles right past the fuel pickup, which tends to get sucked into the fuel pickup and often lean the motor out, usually about halfway through the flight as the fuel volume drops. I found that not running muffler pressure increased my consistency. Some people will tell you run pressure. I don't know, Wendy, what you tell your folks, what you do, but I don't.
One that runs one way, one the other way.
Yeah.
There's clearly a break-off point in venturi size where it's better to run pressure.
Yeah.
Small venturi, no pressure, big venturi.
Well, what we're talking about here is this for you gave it basic Fox 35s, FPs, LAs, these
basic stuff, not $500 motor packages.
Right. I like the GRW tanks. John's tanks are good. Let's talk about some of the work you've done with plastic tanks and why.
I got into plastic tanks a couple years ago because I was having trouble with metal tanks. When they settle while they make metal inside or particles and stock-up filters, and I had a bad experience at a couple of contests. I get to the contest and all of a sudden halfway through flights and motors would go right lean. I'd pull the filters out and they'd have this trash in them, and there's no good way to clean a tank once it's got that in there unless you take it apart. So if you're at a contest, you can't do that extra stuff. then I began to learn that the fuel tank can be a trimming item, just like head shims or props or anything else. And I found that there's several people that run plastic tanks for that reason. Hank DeYoung in Holland, for example, is one. Bob Hunt has worked with him a little bit. But I've tried a number of different configurations. I've probably fixed, I'd say 40, 50 different type configurations and tested them. But what works the best always seems to turn out to be the simplest. And number one, the fuel tubing that comes in the tank, the fuel hose, has just about the right elasticity to give you just what you need so that your clump will follow the fuel properly. If you use any stiffer fuel tubing, it doesn't seem to be as consistent. I found that if you use one of these brass filters that they use in RCs that go inside the tank,
Called a centered metal filter, centered brass filter.
I use that for the pickup. I use a double clump tank. I don't hook the two lines together. The pickup, for the fuel pickup, has the brass filter in the end of it, and you have to be very careful. Hold the tank up to the right when you're adjusting it, so that filter does not hit the back of the tank. It needs to come as close to it as you can reasonably get it, but it cannot touch the back of the tank. If it does touch the back of the tank, you'll notice that your flame will run real lean for a little while and real rich for a little while. And if you have a plastic tank and that happens, the first thing to do is to check the pickup. And what will happen to you that'll fool you sometimes is you'll put the cap in and you'll adjust the pickup and you'll look fine. Then when you tighten the screw, moves it back just enough to touch the back of the tank. So check it after you tighten the cap in the end of the tank. The Uniflow, I use the regular clump that comes with the Sullivan tank. I like the round tanks best or the slant ovals. This airplane I'm flying here now, the hijacker has a slant oval tank in it. The Jameson that I was flying at old time has a round tank in it. But the pickup, the Uniflow, seems to be standard about 3/8 of an inch from the back of the tank, and most metal tanks, or in fact all metal tanks that I've seen. What I've learned is if you vary the length of this, it varies how hard your motor brakes substantially.
Meaning how forward after the Uniflow is.
It's as good a tuning device as anything you can get with a motor. The Uniflow pickup, for example, in the airplane I'm flying here, the hijacker, is 1.25 inches from the back of the tank. It's almost in the middle of the tank. Now, I've trimmed that plane starting at 1/4 inch from the back of the tank with the Uniflow and gradually come up and gone past the 1.25 inch mark where it is now and back to 1.25 inch. The airplane has the softest brake and the most consistency in the run there than it does with Uniflow in that tank. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the next airplane that you trim will come out with. The Jameson, for example, that I'm flying, has the Uniflow about 5/8 of an inch from the back of the tank. So this is something you can work with, and it's something that definitely affects how hard the engine brakes. It's very noticeable when you change the length of it. And the way I do it is I'll start off with the first runs that I make with a new airplane with the Uniflow about 3/8 of an inch from the back of the tank, actually right behind the pyramid shape of the filter, just so the clump doesn't hit the filter. And the next time I try it, I'll shorten it all the way to the middle of the tank. Make big changes so that you can see what the differences are. Then start working one way or the other until you get to what you feel like is optimal.
Make sure I understand, when you're referring to Uniflow, you're referring to a second tubing that you've added inside.
That's right.
Make sure I understand.
You have two individual tubes in there. They're not hooked together or tied together anyway. They just flop around in there.
One is the inlet.
One is your fuel pickup, the other one is your uniflow line.
And what do you use for weight on the uniflow line?
The plug that comes with the solvent tank.
Of course, you got a third line, of course, as a vet that gets
You
cut
buy them by
off.
themselves, just a plunker, an extra plunker so that you can make the slide yourself? I don't know.
I've not been able to at a hobby shop. I called Sullivan and after quite a long conversation and getting a couple people on the phone, I got somebody that sold me 50 of them. I also wanted...
You have enough?
I also...
Well, he said he made 50 tanks, didn't he?
I also...
Thanks, Troy, I didn't...
No, I don't sell anything, Wendy.
No, I'm just asking, I might be if you want 50, maybe I'll take one, but...
I'll be happy to give you one.
Yeah, I'd like to try them.
I'd like to have a new one out there that's identical to what's in my hijacker that I brought as a spare. You can take that.
I'd love to try it, yeah. We have a test plane that, for just this type of stuff.
I also wanted some tubing, and this Sullivan tubing, the item number is 220, and it's different than any other kind of tubing that you can find. It's a little bit smaller diameter.
It's very soft.
And it's a very, very soft tube. And I wound up having about 50 feet of that. But I did get enough that I could... What I was doing before is I keep going back and buying more tanks just to get the clump of tube, you know? And the tanks...
I wish I was selling these tanks.
The tanks, I don't know what they cost in all hobby shops, but down our way they're about $4. And they're about almost an ounce lighter than the standard metal tank is. They're also shorter and much easier to get in the nose of a lot of these airplanes. A 4-ounce tank is I think I can't remember now just how long it is, but they are shorter than metal tanks. Now they require more height than a metal tank does.
The SIG catalog, over where they got the Sullivan page with all the different tanks and stuff, has the dimensions of all their tanks actually in the catalog, so you can kind of scan and see what you might want to fit in there. But that information's readily available without having to call up and mail order something or go to the store. But once you see what you want, then you can go shopping and so forth.
Roy, backing up a second if I could, when you start moving the uniflow for adjustment, you got any magic increment by 8ths, by 16ths, by...
You know, I haven't been in this as long as a lot of people here have. I did work in research and development for the motor company for 11 years, though. And some of the principles that are basic to combustion engines apply to everything. And what I've learned in all these years is there's no magic in anything. Things work because they're properly designed combinations that work well together for an application that probably won't work with another application. And it's all a matter of testing what you have and adjusting it until it suits you. Now, this is what I find. But I find when you start off with something that you're not familiar with, for example, if you started with a plastic tank, I make big adjustments initially. And I find that when you're way off, big adjustments make relatively small differences. But as you start getting closer and closer to where you're going to do small adjustments, start making big differences. So what I do myself is I'll start with the uniflow right at the back of the brightest filter, which is about 3/8 of an inch from the back of the tank. And I'll fly the airplane like that. After I'm comfortable that I understand how the airplane is working and how hard the motor's coming on, and that I've adjusted other things, I'll shorten it 1.5 inches or 1 3/4 inches. I'll shorten it a lot. And then go put up a flight and see what it does. And then I start working back and forth until I find the optimum length. If you're asking me if I know a formula how you can do everything, I don't. And I don't know how you would develop one, because what I've found is that I seem to wind up with a uniflow at a different length in every airplane that I put a tank in. Now, I don't know whether it's the characteristics of the airplane result in needing the brake a little different, or whether it's just that I get comfortable. And maybe I'm getting comfortable in some circumstances because I've changed other things and just feel good about the plane. But I try initially to make a big adjustment so that I can understand what the difference is.
What maintenance is that tubing inside the tank require? How frequently does it have to be changed?
Honestly, I don't know.
Can it make a year?
Well, I've got one tank, the one that's in this Jameson out here, that's 3 years old. I had a situation happen today. I wanted to fly the airplane in Classic, and right after the hourglass, the motor shut off. I wasn't sure what happened. So the first thing I did is take the tank out of it. Now, the good thing about plastic tanks, you can hold it up and look at the light and look at it. You can take the end out of it and look and see what's in it, and if there's something in it, you can wash it out. What I eventually found is that I've been flying old time with the airplane for 2 straight days, and when I fueled it, I short fueled it. So that was a problem.
Don't tell anybody.
No, I take those tanks apart, look at them, put them back together. I'm not running one long enough yet to need to change the tubing, or at least I don't think I have. I don't see anything happening in the running of the tank.
Well, you're talking about moving the unit flow. The harder the brake, further back or further up, or
the further toward the rear of the tank the unit flow is, the harder the brake will be. The further toward the front of the tank, the softer the brake will be. And somewhere in between is where you'll eventually wind up with most applications. I'll tell you something else I find too. The lighter the airplane is and the bigger the motor is in comparison, the more helpful this adjustment is. My Jameson is a 40-ounce airplane with a 50 motor in it. And if that motor has any opportunity to make too much power, it makes that airplane miserable to fly. That motor has to be very soft to fly that airplane comfortably. And in order to get it soft, that tank adjustment, the unit flow adjustment, is an important factor to doing it. So I like the metal tanks a lot. I've never had one fail. I mean the plastic tanks, excuse me. I've never had one fail. I've taken them apart and put them back together numerous times. Never had a tubing fail in them. The one thing I do though is if I've flown a tank for a season, I'll change that brass filter. That filter takes a beating in there, believe it or not, beating on the side of the plastic.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Where you put the center line of the tank on the needle valve?
On upright engines, airplane with an upright motor, shape, rounded at the bottom in the same radius as the cap. So the tank just kind of sticks through the firewall. I make a square piece of balsa, and I put a piece of plywood on it, laminated piece of plywood on it, and I make it perfectly square. And then I mic the distance from the bottom of the motor mount on the engine, the motor run, to the center of the valve body. Now, I don't remember what it is on a 50, but on a 60 it's 675,000. And I put a hole in this piece of wood exactly at 675,000. Then I put a dowel through it with a point on it. And I put this on the motor mounts and slide it back to the tank so that the dowel touches the tank, and I adjust the tank until that dowel is exactly in the center of the screw. Now, that doesn't mean that that'll be exactly right. I find that final adjustments on tank heights come in as little as 6 or 8 thousandths movement. I mount the tanks. I make in the round tanks, I make a half round saddle with a flat bottom. and I hold it all in with rubber bands with dowels made into the back firewall and the front firewall, and I hold it all in with that. And when I take the tank out, I take a set of vernier calipers and measure from the top of the tank to the bottom of this platform. If I want to lower the tank, I'll sand some off the bottom of the platform and measure it so that I tell exactly how much I've lowered the tank that way. Then I put the tank back in it. If I want to raise the tank, I'll make shims to put underneath it. Maybe some 64th plywood, 32nd, depends on how much I feel like I need to shim it. Now, I don't fly a plane upright and inverted and clock it to check the tank height. I find that will get you close but not get you there. What I find is that and this is especially true of a double star, these motors are heat sensitive, and just because it flies at a certain speed and level of flight doesn't mean that it's going to stabilize in repeated maneuvers. It may be on the cusp of building a little heat when it's flying level, but not loaded enough to do it. So it'll maintain the exact same lap speed. Yet, if you get into consecutive maneuvers, you'll see that the speed starts changing. So what I do is I'll go out and I'll just fly 10 inside rounds in a row, just like that. And I watch as I fly to see if the airplane either speeds up or slows down through that process. When I finish that, I'll just do outsides the same way. And I watch to see if it tends to speed up or slow down. Now what will usually happen if the tank is off any at all, somewhere in that process you'll start noticing the plane's getting faster. What that means is the motor is starting to build temperature. So it starts getting a little lean. And it's not stabilizing. Just as an example of how critical this can be, Tommy Looper's stunt wagon was flown all year last year, and it seemed like the tank was just dead on. But when he went to DSC with it, and he was doing consecutive insides, toward the third loop, the plane would start to speed up. It would also start to speed up in the second horizontal legs. Now when you get to your horizontal legs, your vertical legs, those are the maneuvers your motor's in the longest and loaded the most. That's where it's going to build temperature if it's off in. And I talked to him after the first night there, and he didn't have anything really to work with. So I measured a piece of note paper, because most motels have a little notepad in the room. And I found if you folded a piece of note paper 4 times, that's 10,000. And I told Tommy to fold some pieces of note paper that would fit underneath this tank platform, and to try just one first. One is all it took, 10,000, and it was dead on. So it's critical to get your tank height right, and
Well, those were just some of the demos that have been done at Brodak's. We didn't manage to get them all. If we can, and we have some space at the end of the tape, we have a couple we haven't put on here yet. We'll see what we can do. It was a great night tonight. Where they're impounding the Junkyard Wars planes. See some are already painted. Amazing again. I keep saying over and over how many people really enjoyed hanging around, sitting around for the entertainment, and tonight they will be flying them. Tonight's demos is going to be the flying of the big flight streak, always a tradition here at Brodak's. And I think today they're going to have some more combat matches. It just never ends. It's just one thing leads to another on top of another on top of another. It's really, you just have to be in 10 places at once to see it all. Okay, this morning, we're back. Everybody looks bright-eyed, except for Hampshire. Everybody's ready to rock. The planes that didn't get appearance pointed last night, they're doing it. Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. What's new? Not much. Looks like we're gonna have some nice weather today.
Been quiet up in the woods lately. I haven't heard much about what was coming up out of the northeast.
It's rain. Everything's coming out of the northeast is rain. Yeah, that's what we have. I think it's still raining back there.
By Miss Ashley today?
B25.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, see, this is the B25. Hey. Yeah, see what it cost me to pay him to say these things.
I know, if he brags on somebody, it's good.
Well, not that good. This is really will be the exception to the rule.
Wendy, could you bring yours out back out? I think I gave you too many points yesterday.
I think so too.
Redo yours.
Just divide it in half. I'm going to fly the left half of the plane today, the right half tomorrow.
It's going to film for you last night. You didn't fly till so late,
Cool.
Appearance judging for fellows who just got here. We understand there's travel, land belts break, and people's schedules get all that stuff. But what we have, Bob Brookinson, are the appearance judges. If you haven't had your appearance judging done either last evening or this morning, the flight judges can't do it at the circle. The appearance judges are here. It's a different setup. So if you haven't done appearance judging, make sure you get the airplane down here. This is the last chance we have to fix it. We're going to fit latecomers in, but we can't accommodate that conveniently because we have to break Bob and Lou out of what they're judging to do an appearance. It throws some sand in the gears. The other headache that we had, not a headache, a rough patch, we did have a couple of line snags yesterday. The grass is full of clover. We mowed again this morning. We may or may not mow at the break when the judges take lunch. For the flyers, when you take off, put your hand up in the air. Even if you're accustomed to launching with your hand in a flying position, hold it in the air. The helpers, pick the airplane up, hold the inboard tip up, and both flyer and helper confirm that the lines hang from the handle to the wingtip unobstructed before you put the airplane down to release. Flyer can put a little tension on the lines, hold them up out of the grass. Hopefully we avoid line snags today. We had 2 of them yesterday, and we'd like to avoid that as much as we can. Woody, before I turn it over to you, we did have a couple of times outside the contest last night when guys were practicing combat and hacking around. We had a couple of fellas who were pitting, working on airplanes inside the safety tape over here on 4. That's a no-no for obvious reasons, and it's funny. We make such a fuss over pull tests, and everybody checks the lines and all. That's not the accident that we have. We have 2 kinds of accidents, predominantly nationwide. We have prop cuts. We had one, unfortunately, it happens, and it seems to happen to guys who have more than 15 years in, or we have guys who get hit. Not because the airplane failed, because the guy who got hit was where he shouldn't have been. We need to do better at that. We're not as aware, none of us are as aware as we should be of that. Certainly, if you're working on an airplane, keep it outside the tape at all times. Woody, it's all yours. I'm done.
Thank you very much. The pit bosses have been fantastic for the last 2 days, and they're going to be again. We've got some real professional people this time. You've had 13 minutes of glory, 5 minutes to get on the field and 8 minutes to fly. And after that, the time is your own. That's the only thing that we ask. Be ready to go, because the next guy is waiting to go. Get your time, have a good flight, and just please be where you're supposed to be when we need you. After that, you're on your own. Thank you.
All right, just a couple things before we go out. I want to remind all of you that we are on John and Buzz's private property, and if you will, please try to, if you see some trash lying about, please pick it up and put it in the trash cans. Tommy did a good job of going around and emptying the old trash bags today and putting up fresh ones, so we appreciate him, but you guys got to help by putting the trash in it. Field strip your cigarettes, that helps them degrade a lot faster. I do want to remind you, as you probably noticed this morning, there's a special speed zone outside. So
We're going to try to keep the radar traps to a minimum, but just be nice and just make that corner very delicately and just be a nice gentleman or lady as you drive by. Nothing else I could ask of you, and I know you'll do it. Any questions from anybody?
You're going to run through those studs when the racing starts, how's that going to interfere? Stud versus racing. You're going to finish the stud, then race?
Racing is starting right now. Bud will work with you. Everything starts at the same time this morning. Again, one more time on circle assignments. The porta potty circle number 1 is advanced. The over-the-hill gang will be the combat flyers over there. And number 3 on top is the experts. Beginner circle right here closest to the white tent. Intermediate will be flown on the hard surface donut, the round black thing up there. And then on number 6 will be racing. Most predominantly, have a good time, fly together, help each other, be better friends when you leave here.
Combat pilots meeting on the combat circle in the back corner at 9 a.m. Combat pilots meeting, 9 a.m.
How are you guys this morning?
Let's do it. Go, go, go.
This up, Dan Jock, first official, Saturday morning. I believe Dan's the first one up on Saturday. You have 6.
Hey, you're doing the filming today.
Yeah. Did you behave last night?
I tried. We didn't have you guys. Oh, you were in the restaurant.
Yeah.
I behaved. You know I was quiet.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, gang. When's the Windy meeting?
Windy. Oh, we get to see a star fly. I can't wait. Yeah. Bill Cartier, then Windy, then Dave. Your bathroom locker in, buddy.
Yeah, you're slipping.
See what that label says?
Not from here.
It says always put the white side up. Blue side, white side. Stunt flyer did this.
Missed the meeting.
Expert stunt flyer.
Rich, real men don't read the
Right, real men just put the stuff up.
up. You notice it works. Everybody's trying it.
Depends on what
Yes,
they
sir.
want to warm or cold.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm writing the tip for it and we start to get a video call like that. Yeah. Okay. Morning, Ken.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Yeah. This is Wendy's first official. This is Saturday morning, probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock. We got Pete Klupsick had shot some video, which maybe we won't even be able to get on until the end. We'll see how it goes, but we're in the middle of the first round of expert. It's raining, but Bob Zambelli says, real planes fly in the rain, real men fly in the rain, and he's a sissy. He's going to funk out. All right, Bobby. I just got hit in the eye with the tent fell down and the post came up and whacked me in the side of the face, which I guess I deserve a slap every once in a while. Anyway, we're recording it as it happens, as it is, no fake stuff. None of that Steven Spielberg stuff where it looks like something happened, but it's a doll or a dummy or something. This is the real Brodak coming up here. In the rain. No pain, no gain. Bobby Zambelli putting in an official flight in the rain. And I am not getting out from under the tent because the camera's already soaking wet. I hope the footage isn't moving. Pete was out in the rain. Thank you to Pete Klupsick for shooting that footage. I'm not sure if he shot with this camera or the other one, but we did try to get the B-25. I gotta see the front. There we go. From two different angles. And I guess you could have seen the takeoff was kind of cool even. The end of this field goes out into a little bit of a bump, which is Maybe John will get corrected at some time in the future. Not a big deal. If I knew it was that high, I would have pulled it off like a short takeoff. But with the bomber, we try to put on a nice show for everybody and not pull something like that. But can't do the roly-poly, can't do the rolly takeoff and landing, and had to change the wheel just before Gary Tolt saw that I had a flat tire. We always have a flat tire when that thing's flying. On tar, it's 5 flights per set of tires, so we don't even have to take the hubs off. We just spin on a new sponge tire. I think it really is going to rain here, but I think maybe after this flight we'll get out of the rain. Now, luckily the women had enough good sense to get out of the rain. The men, they're sitting out here toughing it out. I think Ken Ticer shot with this camera. Keep in mind, we're shooting with more than one camera, so maybe some of the footage is just not in the sequence that actually happened, but we're trying to make it as realistic as possible. If we have any left over, we'll put it at the end of the video. I think we're really getting, this year more than ever, getting a good representation of how the meet actually went in real life. We still need to see Bobby's Beechcraft, which is coming up on being finished. Got retracts, Zetron retracts, throttle control, Sato 56. Some other unique features, landing lights. And it all runs off one servo. He's an engineer. And so, is he getting shocks? He's got time to fly low before you get electric. Is he lighting up yet? So Bobby's new name is Bobby. I wish I had a Zetron in my Nobler Zambelli. I could have shut it off in the middle of that pouring rain flight. Yeah, I hear you.
Full in charge.
This is a great story.
We built a smoothie in Iran.
Bob Palmer's here.
And we were flying F-14s with their Air Force. I built the smoothie when we picked it up on R&R in Norway. Where I bought the smoothie. Got it all done and finished it. It was down in the middle of this big sandy field. That's what it is. It's a big beach. A lot of water, but it's about 1,000 miles away. I got ready to take off. The thing took off. I got halfway around the circle and 3 women come out of nowhere with their black doors on.
Yeah.
The plane was at eye level. Haven't flown in 25 years. I just got over the top of their head. But I've got a picture of that airplane. I'll send it to you for your scrap.
You know what's funny? Here's a funny story I know. Okay, I'll be right there. A friend of mine is anodizing. He's in the anodizing business. And he's doing a job where part of the stuff is going to either Iran or Iraq. I guess they're not that different. And there's big gold bars that they want gold anodized as part of a palace. The big iron things that go on some kind of a palace part, and they gold anodize them. Now, you know what gold anodizing doesn't even look like gold. They get to customs, and the idiot insisted they were gold, and they were trying to smuggle them into the country. They put the guy in prison. They wouldn't let him see a lawyer, the guy importing his stuff. And he was in there, I bet, 8 or 10 days, a friend of mine, until whatever they determined, this was not gold, it was aluminum. Now, you know, if it was a gold bar the size of Bob Palmer, you can't pick it up, for one. And these things are 30 feet long, and a kid can pick them up. So it shows you why they lost the war.
Well, I can tell you another few weeks. I won't do it on tape.
That's a true story. Another guy had a model, a 40 trainer he bought from me, went over to Iraq or Iran or wherever, and they said, you can't buy fuel, nothing with alcohol. So he converted the model to gas power, except it was a 40-size plane, and it had one of these engines that they run a lawnmower with or something. A little nose heavy would be.
Yeah, a little bit.
But there's no alcohol in those. Mike Cavell told me that too. There's no alcohol. There's no way you can get alcohol into the country. But I guess you could, of course, because you're on the space shuttle program or something. We're down at the advanced circle only for one flight because we got to go help Ken Ticer. But the problem is it started raining again. So what's happened the last couple of days, I thought this was Jerry Tarnofsky, but it might not be. I can't see through the lens because it's all wet and foggy. Anyway, it's a 4-cycle. looks like it might be a 56 Sato, but I can't tell. And it's been the story of the rain is on, the rain is off, the rain is on. We fortunately got I really don't want to have the B25 out in the rain if possible. So we're sure having what we have at Brodak's. The rain doesn't matter. The cameras get wet and we got to go back and hair dry them off, but other than that, and I hope the footage is coming out as good as I possibly can do it. The people that have volunteered to help me, Aaron Little helped me, Bill Little the other night. Because there's so much going on. It's really overwhelming even for me. I usually get about 20 hours shot. And now just picture this, that's when the camera is running. And from the look of the rain, it looks like maybe they're going to call it off again. I'm not sure. But the problem is they did have lightning earlier in the day, and so as soon as rain turns to any chance of thunder or lightning, it's in everybody's best interest just to shut it down. We're going to be here till late tonight. Tonight is the John and Buzz Brodak little cookout that they so graciously provide every year. And we certainly, for one, appreciate it. But the thing I try to capture on video, and I don't know if I really do, most people tell me I do, but some people say no, is just the overall atmosphere, the fun atmosphere that everybody seems to have. It's just a great way to spend 4 or 5 or 6 days of your life. And you always leave here with great memories, fabulous memories. My wife leaves here with antiques, I leave here with the empty fuel jug. And we're going to try to do some stuff that Jose Modesto, he's been working using some of the technology that Dave Midgley has come up with, that I've come up with to do these carbon fiber parts. He's got a fuselage over there, some other parts that he's kind of made. And I think he's only a few parts away from really having something nice and usable. Maybe there already, in fact. But he's, like all of us, pioneering along at his own pace. And it's all we ever can do. In my case, if time is limited, money's limited, so we just do it really for fun. But if we ever get it done, well, we already have planes with carbon wings and fuselages flying at the gnats. If we ever get that one carbon fiber plane that we're dreaming about, I think it'll add something to the event. So it'll be another choice to complement all the good choices that we all already had. And certainly from seeing the Brodak factory with all those kits and seeing those Strega kits, I just can't imagine that you'll not be able to build up a Strega in the mid-60 ounce range with your choice of motor and have a very competitive front row plane very quickly. Again, I can't really see if that's Jerry Tarnowski or not, only because the lens is really fogging up. Look who shows up. Jerry Tarnowski shows up, and he's still flying. How do you do that?
It's amazing.
I don't know. I apologize to this gentleman, but look at the face. Now check this out. And look at this face. You have an evil twin. There's no doubt about it. Gina giving Kent a launch here. It is raining. Now this is a good idea for anybody that's never done this before. Is have a helper hold the lines up out of the grass. Even though Ken is not using solids, those lines get wet. People think only solids get dirty or all lines get wet. That's a good idea what Midgley's doing. Keep them out of the grass. Kent Kaiser, first official. It's Saturday morning, and it's showtime in the rain. This is Kent's brand new. Ooh, nice takeoff. Whoa, I wish I had that on a B-25. Oh, here comes the rain. You can hear it on the pipe. He's got a little crackle in there now. Hitting the pipe pretty good. Well, he needled it himself this time. I want him to get in the pond and start doing it. It's really raining harder now than it was before. And you're always concerned you don't want to hurt the plane. This is Nat Kent's, hopefully Nat's and team trial plane for this year.
Got much time on it?
No. Probably less than 2 hours.
That's probably up pretty good then.
Yep. Oh, he could take a gasket out even now if he wants. Yeah, he could take a gasket out. I hate to do that when they're new because if you get a lean run, they really fry. About 4 hours you can start, I think you can start really leaning. Well, he's only using 5% fuel too. No reason he can't put 10 in here. He ran about 70 laps at the end of the pattern yesterday. We'll see how long he runs at the end of the pattern. Nah, it'll overrun on a hot day, not today. Well, famous last words. Every time you think you have all this stuff figured out, you get the one exception to the rule. Plane has a very nice, clean corner.
He's out. He doesn't get a first flight. He's already gotten a temp because he didn't show up. Well, and then he decided his airplane wasn't waterproof. No, he was pretty electrician. He got zapped last year. I hate too much mental
What did he do? Just go through his own air?
Yeah, he went through his own way.
Okay, so the air is still now. Now is the time when you really have the high risk. Backing up in wet rain when you're already real close.
Fall down. Yeah, a lot better than that B-25. That's on tape now.
Yep. Well, we can prove it. You know, if it wasn't for real B-25s, you guys would be speaking German or Japanese now, so I'd just be quiet.
B-29. Who's in big one of those, man?
Soon.
No, not the Hurricanes. They saved the world.
I would agree. Hurricanes out.
Rolls-Royce Merlin.
Hurricanes did the hard work. Spitfires got the glory.
The engine that saved the world.
You bet.
Defender of the Empire.
When you see this A26 come probably next year or the year after, you're going to be really impressed.
You're doing one of those, huh?
I got 3 of them started. Once I make the mold for the body, I'll be making a body a day.
They're going to want to come under here.
Yep. Oh, yeah. You got it. Man, you can't make these planes and then just put a flat wing in them, a pancake wing. No way. You need to build semi-scale with dihedral and anhedral and kind of wacky stuff.
So we got to get a full test. Jose, I'm going to tell these guys they're going to hand in
What do you think about the motor? Is it getting closer and closer?
I like it better.
I think he could lean on it even a little more now.
I think to move the pipe up, open the vent here. Get 4 hours on it.
Yep. I found out about 10 gallons of fuel into it, it just gets really, really nice. It's got...
Tom Morris is crabbing about his 40. Not running right. It runs on it.
They're tight engines though, you know?
Yeah.
That's going there. Whoa! You know, this used to be fun. Walter Umlin used to loan me his combat planes and we'd fly. You got a cut?
Yeah, got a cut. The guy still has a foot of trimmer.
Now he's going after the glow plug.
That's it.
He still has a glow plug. Get him.
I see a hole in that.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, he got him. He got him.
I'll take the battery from you.
Henry Forbes, first official. Henry Forbes is from our area, and for anybody that doesn't know, he goes way back to the, whatever we're going to call the golden age of Gene Schaefer's son, or whatever it is. He reworks motors. He's given me a lot of good motor advice over the years. Seems to be able to get a wide variety of motors run well, and he's always willing to help somebody with his information that he has. This one seems to be running nice. Always seems to get a nice 2-4 brake no matter what motor he runs. And we always kid him about having a Cardinal. He's never built one, but we always say the planes he built, they look like Cardinals. This is a Cavalier, so I'm going to have somebody later walk up to him and say, what Cardinal is that, the big one or the little one? Anyway, it's a Tom Morris Cavalier. All the guys from Flushing seem to have one or two of these in their Air Force, and they all fly well, of course. John Simpson design. I think John Simpson won Classic yesterday, but I'm not sure. We're not really interested in the scores, really. It isn't the high point. The high point of the meet is the fun. The scores come, the scores go, and it is just if you don't get it from the video, then it's my fault, shame on me. But there's a lot of kidding around. And I was sitting under that tent before, and a string broke, and the thing whacked me right in the eye. I think I have a lump on my eye here. It feels like somebody punched me in the eye. I haven't been punched in about, since the last time Karen hit me. With a baseball bat with a nail in the end. Anyway. As she always says, I'll hit you ahead of time before you do something you deserve it for. Like wearing socks that don't match or something. Nice motor run, Henry, as always. Beautiful motor run. And hey, we want to thank Roy Trantham and Tom Dixon. Roy is going to get me one of the plastic tanks to test on our test plane. Really appreciate when people are willing to share their information. The days when this sport of ours used to be secrets of the experts is a fond memory. It's gone. We have so many people, I think everybody, that have put down the knowledge that they've learned and try to help other people. And you see, the proof is that look around. The Brodak meet attracts more people each year. Control Line Stunt is in probably its biggest period of growth ever. All the cottage industries seem to be thriving. Just look at Tom Morris, John Brodak, for examples. Everybody seems to have the same positive attitude of let's get this event to grow, let's bring new people in, let's attract some of the people that are out of it back into it. And when we get them back, let's make sure we all have fun. Let's make sure we all have a great time at the field. Great time watching videos, reading stunt news, whatever turns you on. Or in our case, just hanging out at the field. And we're looking forward to seeing Jose Modesto. He's brought a lot of his carbon fiber experimental parts here. And I really look forward to helping Jose in the very near future. He's made some, I think he's got a whole carbon fuselage over there. We're going to make him a crutch from our molds. And once that molding process is debugged, we're hoping we're going to add that final dimension that we're all looking forward to. I know Jose is, I know Dave Midgley is, and I sure am. Hank Forbes' first official flight. Lou Willard and Doug Carpenter are judges and experts. Doug, of course, has been a many times, well, both these gentlemen have been many times judge at the National. And if I had to say one word about Doug Carpenter, the word contribution to the sport would come to mind. He has given us fuel, tanks, his services as a judge. I think he is truly one of the people in the event that has put back a lot more than he's taken out. Quite a guy. Lou Willard has reworked engines for years. He's one of the top engine people in the event. This is Jim Borelli's. Really nice. He doesn't get any sparkling or newer. Just check the fit between the landing gear and the body. Check the fit. Always a little quality touch. Look at the cowling fits. The buffed out paint. Very new plane. Jimmy's this is the first time he's flown it, right? This meet?
Yeah. He's only had 4 flights.
It's a really nice color choice.
That's the way things are going. We're going to try and, let the rain decide when we get lunch.
Okay, and it just kind of flat me here.
The ultimate. Now, how can I get one of those that I can sit in and you can carry me around shooting video? Can we train him to shoot video? Look at this. He's in a papoose.
Where did Elaine go?
That is just unbelievable. What does it say? Pass the pigs.
We're going to play the game.
Oh, my God. Look at this dog. It is really raining now.
No, that's okay.
The water, we're all huddled under here, and I'm getting soaking wet, but it is for sure raining now. And they've taken a one hour lunch break. he has experimented with this dimension and found that this is, for his setup, working well. Now that tank, what's nice about it, we're making 40 ships, I guess you know that. This would very conveniently fit in Rosé. We could fly this afternoon if you got a pipe. You got a 40 pipe?
That would, no, don't. That would fit anything, that tank. What's the dimension here? Side to side. It's a little wide. 2 1/4 ounces.
You need a wide, like
that would fit into 40 size fuselage. What I use in a regular fuselage is around 6 inches.
Okay. Now, just for information, he is designing up, and we're doing it very methodically, a 40 ship for the Rojet 40. We want every step of it. We have molds for everything. We have wings, skin fiberglass wings. It's a long way coming. But we're testing the engines already, and we have a test. I think you got it here, don't you? The test plane. Now, so what we do whenever we want to try something, we just put it in a prop. Put it in that thing, and we have clamp mounts, and you take the engine in and out. So something like this, you could take, if you wanted to make 3 different configurations, right at the field.
So the nice part about it is you do it right at the field.
Yeah.
Loosen the screw, pull the stopper out.
Well, there's no corrosion in plastic either. You don't get that where the solder's coming out and everything.
Now, that's a Sullivan tank? I haven't seen that configuration before.
I have his whole dissertation on tape, so.
You've already got it, Wendy.
Yes, I got the dissertation, but we don't have it.
See those numbers?
Dad's been out early on his first vacation.
Come on, man. Come on, snap on it. Step on it. Go over with a hammer. Give me that rubber mallet. I'll show you how to get rid of a cramp.
Jose, flex.
I thought you were a lot tougher than that.
No, come on. That'll flex.
Oh, look at this. This sympathy vote thing's gotta go.
Get out. Leave me.
An expert is Don Herdman from Long Island. Flying a nice P-51. Is that an Al Rabe P-51? Al Rabe? It's your own, okay. We put it in a semi-scale picture yesterday.
Nice, yeah.
Get you in stunt news, make you famous. On short lines?
On 70 feet. No, on 70. You can't stand on the pad because I don't get very close to that post.
Yeah, you want to be like off to that side a little bit.
Stand on the back of the gun.
Probably wouldn't hurt to be off a little bit anyway, man.
This is Don Herdman. I found it. That's the land. You guys are straight north. That's all we're working. I'm a veteran of World War II, and then World War II airplanes just absolutely. Actually, we'll have the 39, 28, 46. Look at the backwards
Is there anybody in the world that doesn't like a P-51? Probably the most popular design of semi-scale. Headed, of course, by Al Rabe's series of Mustangs. Todd Lee's Mustangs. Probably 1,000 others. Combat match going on right behind Don. I'm sure that's just what you want to have happen in your square 8 or square maneuvers. Here they're going at it. said, there's a lot of things going on at the same time. These might be the finalists here. I don't know. They look pretty good. It's a pretty good match to me. Let's see who's flying. I can't tell. Almost at the end of this tape. In fact, we are at the end of this tape. And looks like the sun is coming out, and we're going to continue the second round. Again, try to get as many flights as we can.